Turns out 95-year-old Clint Eastwood has now come clean on Rob Reiner. Eastwood was born Clinton Eastwood Jr. on May 31st, 1930, in San Francisco, California, during the Great Depression. Eastwood's childhood was marked by the constant relocation of his family from place to place in California in search of work, thus leaving in him the virtues of self-reliance and restraint. Eastwood was always the quiet and reflective child who listened rather than spoke, and this was to define the character he was to portray in the movies. Eastwood's early interest was in music, specifically jazz and the piano, which inculcated in him the value of rhythm and restraint that defines his filmmaking style, as well as his character portrayal in the movies. Eastwood graduated from high school and thereafter went to work as a lifeguard, a lumberjack, and later as the attendant of a gasoline station. Eastwood thus learned to respect the value of common toil and the realities of the common man. Eastwood's entry into the film industry was anything but immediate or certain. It was to happen rather accidentally and incidentally after his return from serving in the U.S. Army as he explored the film industry in Hollywood. Eastwood's entry into the film industry was marked by rejection and doubt. Eastwood was signed by Universal Pictures in the mid-1950s, but was released because bit parts did not impress the filmmakers, who deemed Eastwood unattractive, uninteresting, and uncharismatic. Instead, the rejection strengthened Eastwood's determination to succeed in the film industry. Eastwood continued to study and wait for the opportunity that was to allow him to develop rather than to be or to fit into any mold. The opportunity was to come in 1959 in the form of the television series Rawhide. Eastwood was to read the role of Rowdy Yates in the series and was to be regularly employed in the series for 8 consecutive seasons. Although the series had made Eastwood rich and famous, he was to feel demeaned and demeaning, and to look out for something better to do in the film industry. Eastwood's preparedness to take the biggest risk of his life and to leave the United States to work in the film industry in Italian cinema was to change his and the course of film history. Eastwood in the mid-1960s was to take up the relatively less-paying role in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more in The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly Star. These films completely transformed the genre of westerns, in which he introduced his image of the man with no name, laconic, ambiguous, and morals, who express a lot in silence. Eastwood's acting radically changed the depiction of males in cinema. There were no displays of fanfare or loquacity. The strength of his roles lay in restraint, in being, in implication. After the success of these films, he became a global star and completely changed the genre of Western films. More importantly, he gained control over his own career, direction, and independence as a professional. Eastwood returned to Hollywood in the 1960s and 1970s, and he became one of the most bankable stars in this industry. Film's Dirty Harry, in particular, further reinforced his image of a tough, uncompromising enforcer of justice. However, the image of Harry Callahan caused massive debate, as he began to symbolize the mood of the people in regard to crime. However, he himself refused to allow this image of his characters to symbolize any kind of ideology. Throughout this particular stage of his acting career, he showed an extraordinary range of acting in Western films, in thrillers, in romantic dramas, in comedies. Films such as Play Misty for Me, High Plains Drifter, The Outlaw Josie Wales, Every Which Way But Loose, Escape from Alcatraz demonstrated his versatility as an actor. Moreover, as an actor, he demonstrated a desire to grow as a director. He began directing films, in which he again showed himself as an extraordinary actor. Moreover, as an actor, he demonstrated that he was in no hurry, as he began not merely acting. In fact, he began learning. Moreover, he began this journey in order to develop the most dramatic transformation of his acting career. Eastwood, as an actor, showed that he could follow his personal vision. As a director, he began directing films, in which he again showed that he could follow his own style. Moreover, as an actor, he showed that he could experiment as a new director. He began developing his own style as an actor in his films as a director. Moreover, he showed that he could follow his own vision in cinema. Clint Eastwood, as an actor, showed that he began acting after completely developing a particular style in cinema. Moreover, He showed that he could make an extraordinary impact as a new director in this particular style of cinema. Moreover, he showed that he began acting after completely overcoming an extraordinary experience of transformation as a new filmmaker in this particular style of cinema. Moreover, he showed that he completely mastered the style of cinema. He showed that he began acting after completely developing the style of cinema. Moreover, he showed that he could make an extraordinary impact as a new director in the style of cinema. Moreover, he showed that he began acting after completely overcoming an extraordinary experience of transformation as a new filmmaker in the style of cinema. Moreover, he showed that he completely mastered the style of cinema. He achieved his most dramatic success as an actor in the film Unforgiven, 1992. This particular film completely nullified all myths of heroism violence in Western films. Moreover, he showed that he followed this success with a string of highly acclaimed films such as Mystic River, $1 Million Baby, Letters from Yuma, Gran Torino, Changeling, and American Sniper. He is but a single shining star recognized within the international community, his success reaching far beyond the boundaries of the Hollywood movie empire. He has been nominated for 3 Caesars. He has been recognized with one of Europe's highest honors in filmmaking. He has been awarded the American Film Institute's Life Achievement Award, an honor that is paid only to those whose works have contributed mightily to the definition of American film culture. In 2000, Eastwood's international prestige was solidified with the award of the Golden Lion Lifetime Award at the Venice Film Festival, an award considered among the highest honors available within the film industry. It honored the body of his work, including the morality that runs through that work, a reserve that resonates with audiences even in the latter years of his life. France, a land that prizes film almost as a form of religion, has honored the director with its highest honors. He has been named the commander of the Arra de Sardelet in 1994, an award that honors artistic contributions via the international film industry. He has been named the Legion of Honor Award winner in 2007, a prestigious honor that puts the recipient into a rare category of international honors that span places, generations, or time. Taken collectively, the awards show a director whose influence transcends borders, a director who remains a benchmark by which the whole industry can be measured. Of the many relationships that the director has had throughout his life, the marriage with Margaret Maggie Neville Johnson has been the longest one, though perhaps the most complex relationship that the director ever had with a member of the opposite sex. He met the woman in 1953, a time in his life when the director had barely a glimmer of the vision that allowed him the success that followed. Maggie Johnson, elegant, intelligent, and down-to-earth, symbolized stability at a time when the future of Eastwood himself seemed unsure. They married on December 19th, 1953, thus beginning a partnership that would endure for more than 30 years. The initial years of this partnership saw little progress for Eastwood, either in terms of career or monetary stability. Maggie's influence proved to be the factor that could keep him going during this period, when failure stared him in the face again and again. Finally, when he emerged successful in the television series Rawhide, 1959 to 1965, nothing could have prepared them for the metamorphosis that now occurred. The successful actor's life transformed suddenly, and the name of Clint Eastwood became synonymous not only with triumph, but also with glamour. But, along with the pleasures, the problems too increased, thereby testing the bond of marriage between the two for several years. As Eastwood's popularity swelled because of the Man with No Name trilogy, along with the Inspector Harry Callahan series and the movie series Dirty Harry, the demanding nature of the schedule, along with the rising individuality, caused the balance in the wedlock to shift. Maggie had now opted to stay out of the glamorous limelight of Hollywood, preferring instead a life of anonymity, surrounded by privacy. The difference, therefore, in the nature of the two, Clint and Maggie, could now widen. The wedlock existed for several years. Despite the times when Clint's schedule, along with increasing independence, caused them to drift apart. They did have divorces, however, which took place after 25 years of living together. The divorce occurred only in 1978, although it would be finalized only in the year 1984. The gap, therefore, between separation and the divorce proved to be considerable. They were separated when, finally, the divorce occurred, symbolizing, therefore, the extent to which these two could be intertwined, despite the entire period. The divorce, finally, proved to be the one that could be adjudged the costliest in the entire Hollywood, because of the immense success of Clint, along with the extended association of Maggie as the latter's legal partner, during the times when Clint's popularity reached unprecedented heights. Maggie Johnson is, despite the eventual dissolution of their marriage, a key part of Clint Eastwood's personal history. She was there before the fame, lived through the struggles that come with it, and raised their family, for the most part, out of the spotlight and away from the hubris of Hollywood. Maggie and Clint had a complicated marriage that Eastwood credits for developing his sense of responsibility, which in turn has given him the talent for storytelling that sustains the industry today. At the age of 95, Clint Eastwood is speaking from a place of wisdom that comes from knowing that he has lived a full, creative life, unburdened by the need for popularity or the wants of others. When Eastwood looks back on the past 7 decades in Hollywood, he does not just reminisce about the events of his own career, but also looks at the changing dynamics of the film industry and the people who represent these shifts. I've never had a problem with Rob, or Rob the director. Eastwood does not speak of Rob Reiner with animus or venom. I think he's a talented guy. You got to know a lot about people, about character, about timing and story, to make the films that he has, and make the career that he has. Eastwood does not question or criticize the body of work that director Rob Reiner has completed throughout the course of his career. Eastwood does, however, pay homage to the early works of director Rob Reiner, who concentrated on humor, warmth, and the human experience.